Is this earthly reality in which we live real? We ask that question a lot when things like the experience I'm about to share with you happen. And just this morning was shown beautifully by Sanaya, a wonderful term to use to replace the word real or unreal so that we can really wrap our heads around what's going on here. If you were part of the webinar, I think it was 2 months ago, could have been 3 months ago, I shared the experience with you of sitting in meditation and having my guides say, pull a tarot card. This is a trick that we do, my guides and me, every once in a while because it's fun. I don't do tarot. I don't do a whole spread of cards. They just occasionally will say, pull a card, and it's incredibly meaningful. The tarot deck has 78 cards. I really haven't studied all of them, but 22 of the 78 cards are kind of like the Jack, Queen, and King in a deck of cards. They're the big guys, the heavy hitters, and the rest are the minor cards. So that time about 2-3 months ago, when they said pull a card, Sanaya said, we are going to show you just how unreal this reality is. And they said, you will pull the Hierophant card. Now I have done some slides this evening to help make this clear, because everybody's going to say, what the heck is a Hierophant? It is that card right there. You seeing that, Bev?
Yes.
Okay. So I was enough familiar with the deck that I knew what the Hierophant card was. I couldn't have told you really what it meant. But when they said, you will pull the Hierophant card, I was filled with such a sense of knowing beyond any doubt that that was the card I was going to pull, even though it was one of 78 cards. I stood, I walked to the cabinet in my RV where we keep those cards. I pulled it down, I shuffled, I looked down, I picked up a card, I turned it over, and I went, because even though I knew that moment of turning it over and seeing, and I'll pull it up again. Oh, I have to see it again. That card in front of me was not so much the surprise, but the validation that when Spirit speaks, we can trust it. When we know it in our heart that this is Spirit speaking. There is no other way to explain that. And I'm going to tell you how all of this works as we go along tonight. So I have kept that Hierophant card sitting beside me where I meditate every morning ever since then. It's just a reminder every day that we are part of something so much greater than this blended being, this story, put your name on it. So it was just a few days ago, not even a week ago, I sat to meditate, feeling a little gunked up first thing in the morning. I remember having a disturbing dream and, you know, normal human stuff. You wake up feeling sometimes great, sometimes eh, and that's how I was feeling that day, a little bit eh. So I sat to clear my chakras, clear out the gunk first thing, and just as I got going, Sanaya is present immediately and said, pull a card. Well, I'm not feeling real great. I did not have that certainty that I did a couple months ago with the Hierophant. I didn't want to be disappointed. As they said in my ear, you will pull the Emperor card this time. And I recognized immediately that I was in full human mode, because my first thought was, oh, what if I don't? And I want all of you to feel the difference between knowing, the way I described that Hierophant experience, knowing that was going to happen, and the human, what if I don't? It energetically is just tremendous. So trying to be positive, and I'm going to teach you this evening that trying is not nearly the same as knowing what you know. I stood up, I went to the cabinet, I pulled out the cards, I shuffled them, And I kind of had a feeling I was supposed to pick this certain card. And I turned it over, and I'll show you which one I saw. It was this one. I recognize this card right away. It's the Nine of Swords. I had pulled it about a week earlier when a friend asked for some advice, and very strangely, instead of giving me an answer when I went to Sanaya for the answer, they told me to pull a card. And this is the card that I pulled. So I had just about a week previously read the description of what this card means. It's the Nine of Swords. It's not one of the major cards. And what you see here is a woman waking from a bad dream. She's out of sorts, and she clearly feels like life is not good because we have swords over the head. And the card said, this is the perfect part of this lesson. The meaning of this card is you're too much in your head. Now listen, isn't that exactly the state of mind at which I went at that card? I had just literally come out of a nightmare, an unpleasant dream. I was feeling gunked up. And my human side, the human vessel, the energetic part of the human body was interfering with what my soul knows, that we are the light. And I allowed it to dominate as I went and thought, is this really going to work? And I pulled up, not the Emperor card, but the perfect card to describe what I was radiating. Now, this is my story, but hopefully you are now at this moment thinking of times when you have talked yourself out of what your soul knows. So in that moment, the guides stepped in as I'm looking at that card, and they said, now do what you have experienced. Do what you teach. And I teach in my classes how to step into the power. And that power is the light. That power is what flows through you. That power is source. Your soul is a stepped down version of the power, yet it can't be separated from that power. And when we know that, and we come to know that by sitting in the power in meditation, it doesn't have to be powerful like this. It can be pure peace and pure love. That is also the power, but it is completely positive, uplifting, benign when you are aware of being the power. So having pulled the wrong card, which was perfect as a teaching tool, the Nine of Swords, they said, now pull the Emperor. And I stepped into the power just as I had learned to do through experience when I do a demonstration of mediumship and demonstrate for an audience that spirit is here. You cannot do that yourself. As a medium, you must step into the power. And I just stepped into the awareness that we are the light. And I shuffled the cards, holding that awareness as the excitement built, because I knew it was going to happen. And I looked down and my eyes were drawn exactly to which in those upside down cards I was to turn over. I turned it over, and you know the rest. There it is. I turned over the Emperor card. Whew. So I will be honest with you. This time I didn't gasp. This time I got a little quiet and I said, pardon me, holy shit. And the reason I'm sharing with you now exactly what I said is because my guide said, no, holy shift. It's perfection, those two phrases juxtaposed. I hope that I've done a good job of explaining to you the difference in what was radiated. And I want you to think about what you give out in every moment, We can't always be radiating that kind of power, but we can be aware that it is within us always. And all we have to do is shift. That's what I teach in my 7-step Bless Me method, that holy shift to not another dimension out there, but another state of our being, a state of awareness of who we are. And this whole evening is dedicated to celebrating that and to coming to understand more, because I hope every one of you listening right now says, I want that. I want some of that. I want to approach life with that sense of knowing I am that.